War Eagle, and welcome to another edition of Ever to Podcasts. Our goal here today is to catch you up on the latest Auburn news, topics, discussions, things that you need to be aware about when you're on social media, out around the water cooler, trying to talk about and share the Auburn experience, which to us is all about a few things: Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it might be, though, is if it's orange and blue. It's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to be doing today on episode 71 of Ever to Podcast. Today's date is October 2nd, 2025. And as always, I'm your host, Kyle Loomis. As we sit here in the middle of a bye week for football, there is a little bit less news circulating, but there's some things that we certainly need to talk about today. We're going to talk about some big news for basketball with their pro day happening, some announcements that were made. We'll also catch you up on some stuff that was discussed on the SEC teleconference with Coach Hugh Freeze and a few other things as well to round you out today, to give you all the Auburn things that you need to be aware of. Let's start off with some basketball stuff. It is bye week after all, which means that we can focus on things outside of football a little bit, at least for this week. So basketball had their pro day. And if you don't know what that is where, usually former players can come back too. But in the basketball world, it's usually now for the current players to be able to showcase their skills to NBA scouts and I would assume other scouts as well for other leagues, what their abilities are, what they see if they should come back and watch them later on in the year. Obviously, people would be mostly there to see Tahaad Pettiford, having already been in the NBA draft and heavily considered going into that last year. And then other players as well that are going to be, upperclassmen, maybe considering going into the NBA draft or other things later on down the line. I would imagine guys like Keyshawn Murphy, Keyshawn Hall are probably in that as well. But that's what Pro Day is. And so it's essentially a glorified practice where they invite the scouts in to come and see and get tape on them and talk to them and all that kind of stuff. It's like a precursor to that type of thing. All indications from that are it went pretty well. All the players got to participate in that. The big news from that, though, is, and it's really good stuff, I'm glad we get to start with this today, is Coach Stephen Pearl. Got to get used to saying that. Pearl part will be easy, but Stephen Pearl got to speak to the media afterward, and he confirmed, he got permission from these two individuals, which clearly were the two most likely to potentially seek a transfer. To back up a little bit, once a head coach leaves in the middle of a season, a transfer portal window opens up for all players to go somewhere else. And as of yesterday, it looks like Tahaad Pettiford and Keyshawn Hall both addressed the team and said they are going to stay and play out this year and will not seek transfers anywhere else, which means effectively, as of today, that the entire team will be together. The team that was assembled by Bruce and his staff, including Stephen and the staff that's still there. Everybody's still going to be there, just minus Bruce. And Bruce is still going to be around. You know he is. I imagine he was probably lurking around yesterday as well at the pro day. But this is great news. A lot of people were concerned and worried about it. And I continue to stress, folks, don't spend any time worrying about these things because the transfers are going to happen regardless of what it is. Certainly it can change your season a little bit if you're affected by that. But we just live in the world of NIL and transfers, and then these things are going to happen. But you can rest easy now for your basketball season because Tahaad Pettiford, especially that was where most people's focus is going to stay, and so that should make you very, very excited. Speaking of which, the single game tickets are on sale currently. I am literally looking at a waiting room right now, trying to see if I can get in on any of them. It's not really working well at this moment. I'm in the waiting room. But if you're going to be buying tickets today, good luck to you. If you have to buy them on the secondary market, always try to use our code E2C Network when you're buying on SeatGeek. That is the letter E, the number 2, the letter C, Network, all smashed together in one word. That'll get you $20 off your first time purchase of $50 or more, which most tickets go for these days. So check that out, if not for a pair of tickets, and use that if you're buying those tickets today. Good luck to everybody getting tickets for Auburn basketball, which is becoming increasingly hard every single year to do that for a good price. Other basketball news just to be aware of, NBA things are starting to get rolling. You've seen the social media accounts for everybody, but the basketball team's been sharing a lot about the players that are starting in the NBA. We've gotten first look at Janai and his uniform, all that kind of stuff, and an official uniform. It's already happened once before. and others as well, those that are already currently there. Apparently, they're already playing some type of preseason game in Abu Dhabi that Janai just put up a dunk onto. So things are getting rolling there. So you'll have something to kind of spice up your Auburn experience over the next couple of weeks and months, is that as we move closer into actual basketball season. And even though it's not directly Auburn basketball, you can support and follow your Auburn Tigers, especially those like Janai that are just arriving, see how their career begins on the next level. So that's your basketball news right there. Let's talk about a little bit of football news. Once again, we are in the middle of a bye week, which means information is limited. We don't have a main press conference. We don't have Q&As this week. The only thing that we've had is the SEC teleconference that's done every week, which Hugh was a part of, and we got to listen in on yesterday. Put some notes on there. We always do that on X if you're ever interested in following along. We take just very quick notes to keep you up to date on what's being asked, what's being talked about, all that, all the questions centralized around trying to fix the offense, obviously. One thing that I think is important to note, it's easy to criticize. It's also very easy to not recognize where efforts are being put in to try to work overtime to fix this. Coach did talk about during this SEC teleconference that traditionally during a bye week, they get quote unquote off time, which whatever that means, I would imagine that doesn't mean they're technically off, but their responsibilities aren't as on a schedule, so a little bit more relaxed. For the defensive staff, he says that they've earned it. The offensive staff, they said they are working. They haven't stopped. In fact, I may have heard him incorrectly, but I believe he said that there was he didn't say offense-only practice, but it kind of seemed to imply that. I would have bet everybody was there, but I would suspect that there was a heavy emphasis and extra reps, if that's possible, with how you regulate practices for the offense. So I say that for you, the Auburn fan, to recognize that the coaches recognize, other than just their words, that things ain't working and they got to work overtime to figure it out, and they are putting in that effort. So that's something to talk about there. A lot of conversations about the offensive line, what happens there, do changes need to be made? And there's not been really anything solid, as you typically would expect in these types of things, shared other than the obvious. He's got to cut down on penalties, got to cut down on the sacks, things like that. They did talk about some things that they worked on with Jackson Arnold in terms of his drop depth and things like that, things that they're pointing out to him on film that they're trying to work. So those times that he is contributing to those sacks, when it's in his control, that he can make things a little bit easier on the offensive line. So this is an all-encompassing, all hands-on-deck type of effort to get this thing figured out. And I think we all recognize that is definitely needed because it has not worked so great in the last two games and consistently for a while now. So they're working overtime to get that done. Check out those notes on X if you're interested in that. There's more in there, but it's the gist of it right there. One last little bit of news here, and I feel like this is a blessing here. We get to talk about the track and field team for multiple days in a row. We talked yesterday about the surface, the running surface at Hutzel-Rosen being redone, how great it looks. I'm excited to go see it myself and see what it looks like out there in person. They're apparently getting real geared up with staff. I wasn't aware that there were a bunch of staff changes happening, but today they announced two different additions to their assistant coach ranks. They've had some people in these positions that have been here for a while. I believe at least one in the throws that clearly have gone on to do something else now. Coach Ebel, I didn't see him listed on there, but two new coaches. Coach Fisher is joining Auburn Track and Field for an assistant coach position with the jumps and multis. You've also got Joseph Rico throwing as an assistant coach in the throws area, which is where Coach Ebel used to be. So two new positions there. You already have got someone for long distance. That's Aaron Kint, who is the also cross country lead guy for coaching. You've also got two different individuals that are going to be for sprints, and then Coach Leroy Burrell, who is over everything right there. But his expertise, obviously, as an Olympian, was in sprinting and things like that. So there's some updates on that particular program and what they've got going on. And like I said, it's a bye week, so things are a little bit slower, a little bit quieter, but probably that's what we needed for this week in the Auburn experience. But exciting news for basketball today. I know that's going to get a lot of y'all excited. All right, a couple reminders for you here. If you missed Auburn Family Night last night, you missed out on another good one. We would love to have you there 9 Eastern time every Wednesday night. Go check out the replay. We've got tons of podcasts out there for you. Please do check them out. The Auburn Experience podcast, our main show, has been out for a little while. We've got War Horses with Auburn Elvis talking about Auburn Equestrian. That's out. His latest episode, NCEA Week 1 coverage is out. And plenty of other things. Your next scheduled live stream with us is going to be Sunday night at 9 Eastern time with another live recording of episode 145 of the Auburn Experience podcast. We thank you for spending your time with us today and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. The Auburn Creed asks you to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. And we ask you to do the same. War Eagle.